Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. Well, it's officially Oscar season. The Oscars are less than a week away, so I figured it's about time I give you all my final predictions and my personal picks. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer, let's jump right into the predictions. For the first award, we're going to jump right into the big one, Best Picture. The nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, I'm starting with this award because it's a year where it's very easy to predict Oppenheimer's winning this Oscar. If Oppenheimer doesn't win Best Picture, it will be one of the biggest shocks in Oscar history, so that is what I'm going to go with. Oppenheimer is going to win Best Picture. Just to quickly run through my top 10 in reverse order so I can tell you what my favorite movie was. At 10, I have Maestro, 9, The Zone of Interest, 8, American Fiction, 7, Oppenheimer, 6, Past Lives, 5, The Holdovers, 4, Barbie, 3, Killers of the Flower Moon, 2, Poor Things, and the movie I would pick to win Best Picture personally is Anatomy of a Fall. It is just such a gripping courtroom drama, and I was holding on to the edge of the theater seat, white-knuckling throughout the entire thing. I think this screenplay is one of the best I've seen in a while, and the editing is also fantastic. This is just a movie that I absolutely adore, and I'm going to revisit multiple times throughout my life, and it would be my personal pick for Best Picture. Next is directing. The nominees are Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest. Now, this is another category that's very easy to predict. Christopher Nolan has won every single precursor, and there's absolutely no reason to predict anyone else taking home this trophy. Who I would select personally, I would also go with Christopher Nolan. Everyone knows this movie was a cinematic feat, shooting on IMAX, getting those IMAX close-ups, getting custom-made black and white IMAX film. So just from the planning standpoint, in the shooting standpoint, and just pulling this entire film together, Christopher Nolan truly deserves to get his first Academy Award for directing. I really love every other film on this list as well, and they all have reasons why I would want to award them for their cinematic achievement. This was just a stacked year for directing overall, but truly, if you think about this year as a whole, what Christopher Nolan did with Oppenheimer is the highlight of the year in my opinion, so I would go with him as well. Moving over to the acting categories, we're going to kick it off with lead actor. The nominees are Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Coleman Domingo, Rustin, Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. Now, this award was a two-horse race for most of the award season. Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy were kind of swapping the live big televised awards, and going into SAG, I really thought Paul Giamatti had a really good chance to win the award, and we would have a coin flip going into Oscar night. Cillian Murphy did end up pulling off the win there at SAG, so because of that, I do think Cillian Murphy has a pretty easy path to taking home the Oscar, so I will predict him there. For me personally, I am going to go with Paul Giamatti. Just the fact he crafted this weird, off-the-wall, quirky, middle-aged character from the ground up, and just really filled that movie with so much like warmth and comedic moments. It was just truly a performance that really resonated with me, and I absolutely adored it. It was easily my favorite male lead performance of the year. Up next, we have the most interesting acting category, lead actress. The nominees are Annette Bening, Nyad, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, and Emma Stone, Poor Things. Now, this entire season, it has been Gladstone versus Stone, and it seemed like Emma Stone was really pulling away. She won the Golden Globe, she won the Critics' Choice, Lily Gladstone didn't even get nominated at BAFTA, and Emma Stone won, but then Lily Gladstone kind of had a resurgence and won at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. Now, this is following a very similar path to last year's Cate Blanchett versus Michelle Yeoh, although I will say Lily Gladstone is probably a tad weaker than Michelle Yeoh just because Killers of the Flower Moon isn't a massive, Best Picture winning contender. But I just feel like the momentum is swinging into Lily Gladstone's, corner at this time. I am going to predict her to win the Oscar just because I think she does have the momentum and enough support behind her to squeak out this victory. And I would not be upset with that. I think Lily Gladstone is easily one of the best lead actress performances of the year. But for me personally, I am rooting for Emma Stone. Emma Stone is my favorite actress of all time, and I absolutely love her. And I think Poor Things is the performance of the year. What she did with Bella Baxter is truly astounding, and I don't know any other actress that could probably step in and pull off what Emma Stone did in this movie. But like I said, I'm not upset if Lily Gladstone wins. She did a fantastic job as well. And I also want to shout out Sandra Hüller because she is fantastic as well. And I believe she deserves a lot of recognition, but is just kind of lost in the shuffle because of how great Gladstone and Stone were this year. Moving on to the supporting categories, we're going to kick it off with supporting actor. The nominees are Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction, Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. Now, this is a category that's very easy to predict as well. Robert Downey Jr. has won every single precursor, and he's on an easy path to taking home his first trophy. For me personally, probably one of my hotter takes is I think Downey Jr. is my least favorite performance out of these five. Not that I think he gave a bad performance, I just think everyone else was kind of a step above him in my eyes. There's just some fantastic performances in this category this year. For me personally, I am kind of always been tossed up between Sterling K. Brown, Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo. I absolutely love all three of them in their films for different reasons, but I think I would go with Ryan Gosling and Barbie. I think when I think of performances that just pop into my mind this year, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are two that are really, really near the top. And I think that movie would not work without Ryan Gosling being as good and quirky and funny as he is. It's a performance that I think is going to live on for many years, and many people are going to remember from this year in particular with the whole Barbenheimer thing. So I think personally, I'm just going to lean towards Ryan Gosling. And for the final acting category, we have supporting actress. The nominees are Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple, America Ferrera, Barbie, Jodie Foster, Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers. Now, if you thought every other award I've already talked about was easy to predict, this one's even easier. Divine Joy Randolph has had the sweep of all sweeps. I read something that with all the new guilds that give out awards popping up, that Divine Joy Randolph may be the most awarded performance of all time in The Holdovers, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But she truly deserves this award because she's amazing in the film. It is the lock of all locks. She's winning the Oscar. For me personally, this is super easy to pick too. I'm going with Divine Joy Randolph. I just absolutely adore her in that movie. It is one of the best performances you will see in a film in 2023. I love it. And honestly, there's a lot of actresses that I love that just didn't get nominated in this category. So it's just a very easy selection out of this lineup for me to go with Divine Joy Randolph. Shifting over to our last two above the line categories, we have screenplays. We're going to start with adapted screenplay, and the nominees are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, if you would have asked me who I thought was going to win after Oscar nominations came out, I would have told you Barbie. With kind of the uproar of Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie being snubbed in actress and director, I thought Academy voters may lean towards the screenplay to give Greta Gerwig some recognition for this movie. That has really, really shifted now, though, as the Critics' Choice Awards and the BAFTA both went to American Fiction. And that's really important for especially the BAFTA because American Fiction was nominated in no other categories and it still won. So for that alone, I do think American Fiction is the frontrunner currently, but I do think Oppenheimer has a chance to win this award if Oppenheimer is, just sweeping and wins that 8 to 10 Oscars and is just truly one of those all-time dominant films at the award show. I don't feel the groundswell enough to go with Oppenheimer right now, so I am going to predict American Fiction, but do not be surprised if Oppenheimer sneaks out a win here. For me personally, I am going with Barbie. Just the fact that they took a child's toy IP and made it into the biggest, highest grossing film of the year, and it wasn't just some, studio typical pumped out crap, and Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach were able to craft their own screenplay and Mattel approved it, is just kind of mind boggling to me. And also, it's just one of the more fun screenplays of the year, in my opinion. If there was a runner up for me, I would go with Poor Things. I think Tony McNamara did a great job adapting that from the book, but I am going to go with Barbie. Next is original screenplay. The nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, Past Lives. I do think this Oscar is between The Holdovers and Anatomy of a Fall, but I'm currently going to predict Anatomy of a Fall. And that's because the Academy really did like Anatomy of a Fall, giving it director, lead actress, picture, editing, and screenplay. And if it's going to win an award, I think original screenplay is the only one it truly has a chance to take home an Oscar. And the nice part about that is the director, Justine Triet, co-wrote the screenplay with her husband, so it's a nice way to award her for the film overall. Now, for me personally, you may think I'm going to pick Anatomy of a Fall since it was my number one Best Picture nominee, but my favorite movie of the year is here, and it is my favorite screenplay of the year, and that is May December. I absolutely love May December, and I'm just so devastated that Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, and Charles Melton couldn't sneak their way into these award races a little bit more, but to honor the movie, I am going to give it my favorite screenplay of the year. Kicking off the technical categories, we're going to start with cinematography. The nominees are El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. This is one of the awards that Oppenheimer's just very easily going to pick up. Kind of like I talked about a little bit in Director about how they did so many groundbreaking things with IMAX filming, getting the black and white film custom made to shoot for this film, and just how outstanding this film looks overall. I don't see any other film even having a chance next to Oppenheimer. And for me personally, I am going to go with Oppenheimer as well. I mean, just the Trinity test alone is enough for me to want to pick this film in cinematography. I mean, Poor Things and Maestro and Killers also all look very good, but they just are not on the same level as Oppenheimer. Next, for film editing, the nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Now, like I just talked about in cinematography, this is another award that Oppenheimer is very easily going to pick up. It's just such a cinematic feat that it's always going to be contender in these technical categories, and editing is one that is just going to dominate with its massive scale. For me personally, though, I am going to go with Anatomy of a Fall. Even though it's a much smaller film, I feel like the editing was its own character. It built so much tension and dread and anxiety, and just kind of closed the walls in on you as a viewer, and I was just on the edge of my seat during Anatomy of a Fall, and the majority of that was due to its fantastic editing, so I am going to give it a shout out here, and it was my favorite edited film of the year. Next is costume design, and the nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Now, this award is coming down to Barbie v. Poor Things, and I've gone back and forth a lot the past couple of weeks trying to decide who I want to predict to win the Academy Award. I ultimately ended up landing on Poor Things, and that's mostly due to the fact I think Barbie is just losing a lot of steam right now. And, Poor Things and Barbie have performed pretty equally at a lot of these more like production technical guilds where they award these type of, feats in like costume and production design and things like that. So I'm just ultimately leaning towards Poor Things for the award. For me personally, I would pick Barbie just because I think those costumes are a lot more memorable. I mean, there's Barbie's pink cowboy outfit and then the I Am Knuff sweatshirt at the end that Ryan Gosling is wearing. I just find them a lot more memorable, even though the Poor Things period costumes are very beautiful. That's just kind of how I see things shaking out. Next is makeup and hairstyling. The nominees are Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Society of the Snow. I think Maestro's very easily going to take home this award. The Academy loves their aging makeup, and Bradley Cooper is caked in it throughout this entire movie. And plus, Carey Mulligan has some very nice makeup work done as well to show her aging. For me personally, I am easily going with Poor Things here. Willem Dafoe in his like Frankenstein-esque face that makes it look enlarged, and his huge chin is great. And I also love how Bella Baxter's hair grows and changes throughout the entire film. It really just kind of grows with the progression of her character, and I thought that was a very unique touch, so that is by far my favorite work in this category. Moving into production design, the nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Like costume design, this is another category that's coming down to Barbie v Poor Things. If you would have asked me around a month ago, I would have told you Barbie is easily taking home this Academy Award, but I think the tides have shifted, and I do believe Poor Things is going to win this award. For me personally, I'm also going to go with Poor Things. I saw some behind the scenes clips of this movie, and a lot of things I thought were CGI were actually practical effects, and that absolutely blew my mind. They crafted this very unique world around Bella Baxter and the rest of the characters that I just really adored. I would not be upset with Barbie winning though either, and I also really enjoy it. The Barbie dream houses in Barbie Land look fantastic, but when you kind of shift to the real world and then you have that really awkward and clunky car chase scene in the middle, as a cohesive, full, all-around experience, I think Poor Things has the better production design, although I cannot complain if you love Barbie Land. Up next is score, and the nominees are American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. This is another category that I think Oppenheimer is very easily going to take home. The score is just epic and massive and immersive in the film. It is truly just like huge and outstanding. Now, when thinking about my personal favorite, Oppenheimer is definitely up there, but the other one that has really stuck in my mind is Poor Things. Kind of the twangy and sometimes minimalist approach to the music really fit the vibe of the film well, and I think when combining the film with the music, I think the overall vibe of Poor Things' score just meshes so well with the film and the performances and the direction itself. So just for that kind of aspect alone, I do think my favorite is Poor Things, but Oppenheimer is a very close second, and I will say Oppenheimer is the one that I'd prefer just to listen to as like standalone music, where Poor Things doesn't really work on its own. You really need to hear it with the film, otherwise it's just kind of very clunky and awkward to listen to on its own. But I really like to listen to music and scores specifically with how it relates to the film, and I think Poor Things just meshed in perfectly with its score. Next is a award that has become very interesting as of late, sound. The nominees are The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, The Zone of Interest. Now, if you would have asked me a month ago who's winning this award, I would have told you it's another easy box to check off for Oppenheimer in the technical categories. But The Zone of Interest did win the Sound Award at BAFTA, and it's giving me some second thoughts. The Zone of Interest really relies on its sound to convey a lot of dread and agony to the audience. We just kind of watch the characters go about their everyday life, but we hear the horrendous acts that are taking place over the wall in their backyard. And the sound design is immaculate in that film, and that's the one thing about that movie I really like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it overall. I'm still going to go with Oppenheimer winning this award, and it's my personal favorite as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if The Zone of Interest won it, nor would I be upset. I just really feel like Oppenheimer is going to take home a lot of awards at this year's Oscars, and if the Academy is just kind of going down the list, checking off Oppenheimer in a lot of the boxes, I feel like sound is just going to come along with that ride. But do not be shocked if The Zone of Interest pulls this one out. Now we have one of the biggest toss-up categories of the night, visual effects. The nominees are The Creator, Godzilla Minus One, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. Now when I say this category it's a toss-up, it's because we have no idea what's going to happen. There are two precursor awards for this one specifically, and that is the Critics' Choice Awards, who went with Oppenheimer, and the BAFTAs, who went with Poor Things, who are not nominated here at all. We also can't even look at the VFX awards because Godzilla really wasn't nominated there, so the creator won most of those awards. So this can go a lot of different ways. I think Godzilla Minus One is going to pull this off. I think it's going to come down between The Creator and Godzilla Minus One in my eyes. and I'm just going with the Godzilla film. I think people are going to like the big lizard, and they're just going to checkmark that, and a Godzilla film is going to win its first Oscar award. Now, for me personally, I'll be honest, I've only seen two of these films, and that's Guardians and Mission Impossible. And I would personally go with Mission Impossible. I saw some of the featurettes about what they did with practical versus visual effects in that movie, and I think they blended them very seamlessly. And I've kind of seen the Guardians Marvel special effects, a bunch of times, but seeing what they did on Mission Impossible really did blow me away. So since I've only seen two of these films, I'd personally go with Mission Impossible. Next is animated feature. The nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is another category that could be a little bit interesting. I'm definitely leaning towards Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse taking home the award, but The Boy and the Heron winning at the Golden Globes and winning at BAFTA is giving me a little bit of pause. What is also giving me a little bit of pause is Miyazaki has not won an Oscar, and then Spider-Man already won for the first film, and the Academy is well aware this is the middle film of a trilogy, so they could award the third one again if they wanted. So, I mean, if a lot of Academy members really like The Boy and the Heron, or they just like Miyazaki's body of work and knowing that he's getting older and probably won't make too many more films, I could possibly see them picking up this award in a little bit of a shock, but Spider-Man is definitely the favorite currently. I only was able to see Elemental and Spider-Man this year, and Spider-Man is definitely better than Elemental, so I'm going to go with that choice. And our final category before features and shorts is original song. The nominees are The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Wazaze from Killers of the Flower Moon, and What Was I Made For from Barbie. Now, I think this is another category that's very easy to predict, and it's probably going to go to What Was I Made For from Barbie, and Billie Eilish and Phineas are going to receive their second Oscar trophy. And also, What Was I Made For is my personal favorite in this category as well. I will say, though, I am very excited for Oscars night to see Ryan Gosling perform I'm Just Ken live. I think that's going to be an absolute blast of a time, and I'm just very, very excited to see that live performance. Next is the international feature category. The nominees are Io Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, The Zone of Interest. I think The Zone of Interest is going to walk away with this film. It's the only one out of these five that's nominated in Best Picture, and that's the best indicator that you're going to win this award. And The Zone of Interest is the only film out of these five I was personally able to check out, so that's going to be my personal favorite as well by default. Moving over to live action short, the nominees are The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I think Henry Sugar is easily going to take home this award just because Netflix put it out and it is a Wes Anderson short film. It is a little weird that Wes Anderson is most likely going to win his first Oscar for a short film, but I'm happy that he's going to win one anyways, and that's the only one out of this category I was able to check out, and I think it is a fantastic short film, and it's definitely worth checking out on Netflix if you have the time. Now, these final three categories, animated short, documentary short, and documentary feature, I have not seen any of the nominees, but I'm still going to give you my predictions. But if you're looking for some better predictions, definitely seek out someone who's seen all of them. But I do just want to give my full predictions, so I'm going to go through them. First up, we have animated short. We have Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderme, and War is Over. I'm personally going to go with War is Over as my prediction for the Oscar. For documentary feature, the nominees are Bobby Wine, the People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol. I think 20 Days in Mariupol is going to take home the Oscar. And finally, we have documentary short. The nominees are The ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, Nai Nai and Waipo, and The Last Repair Shop. I'm going to go with The Last Repair Shop winning the Oscar. Now, I just did a quick tally of all of my predictions and my personal picks, and you can see the big films listed on your screen currently. If the Oscars go how I think they're going to go, Oppenheimer is sweeping with 8 wins, but then we see a nice array of other films at least picking up one award so they can kind of spread the love and some films can go home as Oscar winners. For me personally, it's a little bit more top heavy and you see some of those movies not show up, but you can kind of tell where my favorite films of the year land there a little bit. And I'd say I'm pretty happy with Poor Things, Barbie being up there, and May December taking home an Oscar win. But I thought I'd just kind of show that there so you can kind of see where I think the movies are going to fall in a win total aspect. I want to thank you guys for checking out my Oscar predictions. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you want to win? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as I'll have my live reactions to the Oscars up next week. I hope you guys have a fantastic viewing experience of the Oscars, and I'll catch y'all later.